Good evening, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to bow your head in prayer. Almighty God, we ask you to guide us in all our discussions, to show goodness, honesty, understanding and wisdom in all that we undertake for the benefit of the city of Joondalup and our residents. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Sure. Nala Kadich Wajak Mort Kain Karak Nijabuja. We acknowledge Noongar people as the original custodians of this land. I declare this special meeting of council open at 6:31 p.m. In accordance with the recording and live streaming of council meetings council policy, this meeting will be video recorded and live streamed on the city's website, with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournment as determined by the presiding member. Cameras have been positioned in such a way as to avoid members of the public. However, by being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the city's website following the meeting. The official record of this meeting will be the written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995 and any relevant regulations. Members of the public gallery are reminded it is a requirement under the Meeting Procedures Local Law to act in a courteous and respectful manner when you are in the council chamber. You are asked to show respect to anyone who is exercising their right to ask questions of the council and or deliver public statements. I ask that that respect extend to such people wherever they are on city premises while waiting for or having taken their opportunity to ask questions or deliver a public statement. Under the local law, a person must not create a disturbance by interrupting or interfering with the orderly conduct of proceedings. This includes expressing approval or dissent by conversing or any other means. Using personal electronic recording devices to record anyone or the meeting is also prohibited under the city's local law. I would also like to remind members of the public to show proper respect to the city's elected members and staff during these proceedings. The next item of business is declarations of interest. Do any councillors or staff have any declarations for tonight's meeting? Right. I have one interest from myself. It is an interest that may affect impartiality. It's for item 8.3 selection panel, independent person. One of the nominees is known to me and I'll disclose that person when it comes to that confidential item. Are there any other items? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similar declaration for the same item. One of the nominees is known to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other further declarations? In that case, we'll move to public question time. Questions asked at a special meeting of council must relate to the purpose of which the meeting has been called. There is a set of procedures relating to public question time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You have the opportunity to ask 2 questions, and your question should be directed to myself as the chair and be asked in a polite and respectful manner. If there's anyone, we keep a register for anyone who wishes to ask a public question. At this time, no one's registered in advance. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to ask a question? No? In that case, I declare public question time closed and move to public statement time. Again, statements made at a special meeting of council must relate to the purpose of which the meeting is called. There's a set of procedures relating to public statement time, and I request that you follow my direction at all times. You are able to make a statement for up to 2 minutes, and your statement should be directed to myself as the chair and be polite and respectful. No questions or discussion will occur at the end of the statement. Is there anybody from the public gallery who wishes to make a statement? No? In that case, I declare public statement time closed. The next item is apologies and leaves of absence. I've received an apology from Councillor O'Neill for tonight's meeting, and Councillor Venchulo is also unavailable for tonight's meeting, but he may be arriving later if the meeting proceeds long enough. We also have a leave of absence from Councillor Jones. Is there anybody else who wishes to apply for a leave of absence? No? In that case, we'll move then to identification of matters for which the meeting may be closed to the public. There is one confidential report, which is item 8.3. Oh, sorry, I forgot that we actually have a motion for the Deputy Mayor to approve leave. Could I get a mover for the motion that's on the screen? Moved Councillor Mercer, seconded by Councillor Fishwick. Councillor Mercer, do you wish to speak to the item? Councillor Fishwick? No? Anyone further? Okay, if we could just do that one on the screens, if that's okay. If you cast your vote when you're ready. Thank you. I declare the item closed and the voting closed, and the item is carried unanimously. On to then item 7, identification of matters for which the meeting may be closed to the public. There is one confidential report tonight, which is the Chief Executive Officer Selection Panel appointment of an independent person. That item will be dealt with behind closed doors. In that case, we then move to the report section of tonight's agenda. So we will begin at item 8.1 for the annual report. I'm willing to move the officer's recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mercer. I won't say much to the item tonight, but to say it's good to see that every year the annual report is being delivered earlier and earlier with the finalisation of our financial statements earlier on in the year, which allows us to complete the report at an earlier time. It's good to see as well that the date for the annual general meeting, which is determined in relation to the annual report, each year is slowly becoming closer to the end of the calendar year. So this year it looks like it'll probably be in sometime in January, which the council will determine at the next item. But it's good to see that we're slowly progressing towards trying to have these documents and the date finalised before the 31st of December each year, which seems to be the recommended date in the legislation. So I'll stop there. Councillor Mercer, do you wish to speak? Are there any other further comments or amendments? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the amendment as circulated slightly earlier today, just to include a reference to subject to minor administrative corrections as part of the motion, just to pick up any...
I'll just stop you there. So I'm willing to second, and then you can speak to the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, this is just to highlight there may be some minor corrections. Well, there are some that have been picked up, and there may be others picked up by other elected members as part of the review process. So this is just allowing the administration to correct those items within the report. They're not substantial, they're just correcting some words and some arrows and some phrases. So yeah, looking to just have the capability of having those as added into the approval process. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just have a question for the Director of Governance. If other elected members have further changes that they have identified in the report, is it okay if those are sent in by Friday this week? If those corrections can then be captured if they're after the meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, Friday would be wonderful because we do need to get it back to the designers for any final track changes before we start the printing process.
Thank you, Director. I don't wish to make any further comments. Is there anybody else who wishes to make a comment or ask a question on the annual report? Councillor Hill.
Yes, thanks. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I just wonder, with regard to the financial information report on page 3, there is a table there presenting a range of financial statistics, and at the top of the page there are some scores which are indicated as sound, not sound, or good. But with regard to the individual line items, I guess it's difficult to understand what would be deemed to be good, bad, or whatever. So I just wonder whether we can have a bit of a talk through from the relevant director as to the trends over the last few years in general comments, and whether the statistics for each of those items indicate that we're in a good position or not so good position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. I'll take that question when we get to the substantive item. So at the moment we're just dealing with the amendment, if that's all right with you?
That's right, yeah, I did pick up one or two of the things that the Deputy Mayor picked up, so I have nothing further, thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Hill. Any further commentary on the amendment? Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, I'll just make a brief comment now around some changes. I did pick up some issues with the external council committee boards dates. Some of the boards listed next to people's names aren't correct, but I can raise that separately. But there's a few additional points.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Maybe if that can be done by Friday, if possible. Any further comments or questions on the amendment? Councillor Chester, on the amendment?
No, not on the amendment. I thought you were asking questions just generally on the item.
Just on the amendment until that's been determined. Any further questions or comments on the amendment? In that case, Deputy Mayor, do you wish to close?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Could we then vote on the item, please? Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the amendment is carried unanimously. So returning then to the primary motion as amended, Councillor Hill, you had your question.
Yes, I'd like to ask the question that I asked, and I trust that I don't have to repeat it, but I will if necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Humphrey.
Through you, Mr Mayor. We do provide as part of the budget document an explanation of what we look for in the key budget parameters and also in the strategic financial plan. But in short, the operating surplus has trended from 7% to minus 2% over the last 5 years. And again, in the SFP, we do outline measures to return that back to surplus. The remainder of the indicators are within what we expect to see for a local government of our size. The only other area of concern would be the asset, particularly renewal spends, which again we have brought to council on several occasions. Overall, though, the key indicators, which is our ability to service our liabilities, are very, very positive. The city is in a very sound financial position. The overall level of debt, obviously we have zero debt as at the 30th of June. So again, that's very encouraging. But yeah, the longer term trend with regard to the operating surplus and asset renewals are the areas that council need to be aware of.
Councillor Hill, thank you. Councillor Chester, were going to ask a question earlier.
Yes, thank you. Look, there is some feeling that we are financially not up to scratch, I suppose is the only term I can use. And also our asset management or replacement of our assets is also floundering. And I would ask a question of the Director of Corporate Services to possibly give us some reassurance that we are in a sound financial position. Thank you.
Thank you, although I'll just make sure that the question, though, when it's answered, it relates to this year's the annual report. So I know this one's predictive about what is our future position, but in relation to the annual report, if that could be good. Sorry, Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Responding through you. I think it's important for council to keep in mind the 5 years that have been had, the combination of events around the COVID pandemic, inflation reaching 7%, interest rates going from effectively 0% to 4%, have all put pressure on the ability of council to increase rates in line with inflation. And the second thing that has occurred is there has been a very large increase in the amount of state and federal grants available to fund infrastructure projects, both towards the local government and within the construction sector more generally. All of that has put a lot of pressure on the city's finances and our budgets. Where we're at the moment, the city has no debt, as noted in the annual report. Our operating surplus, we're minus 2% as at 30th of June, so that's an area that needs attention, but it is only minus 2%. There's certainly the ability for that to be recovered. But as I said, all of our liquidity ratios are where we would want them to be for a local government of our size. So we are more than able to pay our current liabilities, our current bills, and we're able to service our liabilities in the longer term. The question around asset renewal, this is an area that all local governments have to contend with. We have over $2 billion worth of assets, and that does require a sizable amount of money each year to be set aside to replace and service those assets. The city has not met the targets the last several years. There has been a focus on meeting the expectations set by grants, which has put pressure on the team to fund new and upgrades, and we do need to return to, in the longer term, to servicing those assets. So that's probably the best summary I can provide at this point in time, Mr. Mayor, but I'm happy to take further questions if clarification is required.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Chester.
A further question, if you'll allow. When we were audited last via the Auditor General's office, were there any particular issues that were highlighted during that examination of our financial position that you can recall?
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the answer to that question is no, but I need to add a caveat to that, in that the Office of the Auditor General only provide a finding on our financial situation where it is particularly dire. They don't provide any kind of financial guidance for the bodies they audit. Obviously, that would create a conflict of interest. So if the OAG provide any form of comment that there is an issue, it's probably beyond the point of time in which we would need to be responding. But no particular issues have been raised with the city's financial position.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director.
Councillor Chester. Thank you. Councillor Hutton.
Aye, thank you. Just two quick questions. First question in regards to the minimum requirements of an annual report. What is required as per the Act to be included in an annual report, and what is not included and is an optional inclusion that the City of Joondalup has partaken?
Thank you, Councillor. Director Parry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, on page 17 of the agenda, section 553 of the Act states the information that is to relate to the content of the annual report.
Councillor Hutton.
And sorry, there are accompanying regulations which also require some reporting matters.
Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. Second question, just in regards to resourcing. Do we have an estimate of what resourcing goes into the creation of the annual report in regards to cost and also staff time?
Thank you. Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the design for this year's annual report was around $18,000. We haven't calculated the human resource time to be able to put together the annual report. It is a significant part of one officer's time to collate the information across the organisation. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, I'll then just ask, I've sent an amendment to governance and also to yourself, Mayor, which is to insert a second point, which is point 2, reviews the resources allocated towards the development of the annual report as part of the development of the 26-27 budget.
Thank you. We can accept the amendment. Do you wish to move it as you've circulated?
Yes.
Yes. And a seconder? Does anyone wish to second? Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Councillor Hutton, you can speak to the amendment.
Yeah, I'll speak to it briefly. Obviously, as a city, we are going to be reviewing many of the expenses we do to find potential cost savings as we face the financial challenges that we do have head on. I'm of the opinion that this is one of the areas we should look at. For me, there is sometimes, and I'm not necessarily saying this is in the City of Joondalup's instance, but there's sometimes for these reports to be developed in such a way that they can, apply for awards and sort of receive commendation. I would like to see a report hopefully focus more on what is absolutely required, and hopefully we can direct the time and energy resources of the more optional things elsewhere. But as I say, I'm not looking for us to make a decision on this. I'm just looking for us as a council to review this as part of the process, obviously noting that we don't have all of the numbers at the moment, so hopefully that can be provided in time. But as I say, I do feel like we could go for a slimmed down model of the annual report, which would achieve all of our obligations, but do so in a way that doesn't impact on the city as much. So that's the reason for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion as presented. I think reviewing the resources allocated is something worthwhile doing as part of the consideration of the budget. As part of that process, I'd like to us to consider the benefits that are delivered from the annual report that we see, and make sure that those values are delivered at a suitable cost as part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion, but I don't really believe this is something that's going to even save any money, or even if it does, not a significant amount of money. I don't think the annual report is over the top by any measure. I think, if anything, the cost of putting a report of this size together would probably get cheaper with should the city at some point decide to use artificial intelligence for assistance in writing reports, as many workplaces do. But I don't have a problem with supporting it. I just don't think it's going to uncover a large chunk of savings.
Thank you, Councillor May. Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, in my opinion, it would be difficult to agree to this amendment. A review in itself would involve using up resources. Difficult to review unless we had some idea of the saving that might be made. Is there any idea of the cost of resourcing the annual review?
We'll take that as a question. Director Parry. Of course, looking at the wording of the motion, is this is part of the budget process.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as I guess alluded to by Councillor Hutton, you could do the absolute minimum, or you could, as we have done in our reporting to date, provided additional information to be able to inform the community and stakeholders about the achievements, challenges and future plans, and also creating community awareness around programs and services. So you could do the minimum, or you could provide additional information as is currently presented.
Councillor Chester.
Yes. Let's say an average over the years of resourcing to provide the annual report.
Is that as a question to the Director?
That is a question to the Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have reduced, I guess, the resources that have gone into the document, because we have reduced the size of it over the years with information that's probably more pertinent to the community. So there was, if you compare the sizes of the annual reports quite a few years ago, they were probably a lot more full of information than we have at this particular time. So I think we've been a little more prudent with regard to the resourcing that's been provided in the annual report, recognising our obligations under the legislation to provide minimal information, but also to provide some additional information that provides for a historical document that the council and its community can refer to.
And a final question to the Director of Governance. Could he express his opinion on the need for a review?
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the decision that you could make is going purely minimal, or a satisfaction level with the current type of information that is contained within the report at the moment. And it may be that elected members provide information back to the administration on what you consider relevant. There are a number of sections in there that elected members have requested over the years that does take some time to be able to keep up to date. It's not required as part of the annual reporting, so yeah.
Just a final
Councillor?
comment, if you will. My opinion of the annual report is that it's very thorough, and it was excellent reading in terms of bringing ratepayers up to date on how the city functions, and I can only commend it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Any further? Councillor Pizzey.
I'm just wondering how this looks to the city. Will you bring it through to us at a budget meeting, and what kind of information will this make you bring to us?
Director Parry, but part of that, of course, is in the motion as part of the development of the budget. But Director Parry.
through you, Mr. Mayor, just to reiterate, the information that I would bring to you as part of the budget process would be for the council to make a decision as to whether you wish to undertake the minimal reporting requirements or the minimal reporting requirements plus additional elements at your choosing.
Councillor Pizzey.
That, just looking at the amendment, it doesn't specify what it exactly wants, what information it needs, so I'm just wondering what the city will bring. So if we vote on this, we're not saying exactly what we want reviewed specifically, so I'm just wondering what the city will review and bring to the budget session.
I think that's similar to the previous question. Director Parry?
Mr. Mayor, the only information that we could bring back to you is officer time to undertake the minimal and any design costs to undertake the minimal compared to the current cost to produce the annual report as is currently presented before you, and then for council to make a choice as to the type of information that it wishes to be contained within the annual report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pizzey. Any further comments or questions? No, I will make one quick comment from myself. I think things have changed in annual reporting, is that previously these documents were the landmark documents to spruik the organisation and put all the elements in there, and I think over the time things have changed that with the internet and with other forms of communication, it's a need to have that communication all the time through the year and across multiple documents. I do see the importance of the annual report, and especially looking at the way that it sits within the city's reporting framework. That's on page 8 of the current annual report. It's important that we do have one for reporting the performance of the organisation. And of course, the legislative elements, they're required, so that's a given. But it's about what do we want to have in addition to that. So I think it is worthwhile looking at the resourcing. I'm not sure it will necessarily result in a saving, and the reason why I say that is that depending on where the council sits, is that if we don't have that narrative in the annual report, does that narrative then need to be communicated a different way through the city, through other documents and other social media channels? That might have a saving, meaning from a communications perspective, there might be more of an allocation, but in other cases it might not be. So I don't think it's certain which way this would go if we did review the budget on this, but I think it is worthwhile to have a discussion about what we do want in the annual report and what's not necessarily so important. I personally think the reporting aspect of the annual report, in addition to the minimum legislative standards, is a significant milestone for us. I think we do need to make sure that the pages that are in the latter half of the document, which relate to how we've performed through the year, I think we need to always review those to make sure that they're appropriate measures so we can track our performance and it is in some sort of unified document. But of course, and most of the councillors will remember, is that we did go through a process earlier this year about trying to determine what are appropriate performance measures. So I think we've already gone some way towards reviewing what should be in the annual report, but at this stage, I can support it as part of the budget process. I think it is meaningful to try and say, is there things that we can make it more streamlined? Because it can be a lot of effort across an organisation to write one of these documents. And does it still perform the function that annual reports did traditionally back, say, 20 years ago, to provide a snapshot of an organisation? But maybe that's a discussion that needs to be had through reviewing the document rather than tonight's primary motion, which is about whether or not we accept this document. So I think maybe that's something we can have through the budget process, and if people feel that the current amount in the document's acceptable, then that's fine, but I think it's worthwhile looking at some of these measures. I'll finish there. Are there any other comments before Councillor Hutton closes? Councillor Hutton, do you wish to close?
Yeah, thank you, and obviously thanks everyone for their input on this. I'll just summarise and say that I'm not seeking for us tonight to make a decision. I'm just seeking for us to have basically, as part of the budget process, to have a line item in there, which is going to be basically articulating how much we currently spend in resourcing on this, and hopefully provide us with some options. I know there's been a desire from some members of council to do, for example, zero-based budgeting. I think there is probably a move towards not doing zero-based budgeting, but actually giving us more decisions in items that we bring before the attention of the administration, and this is one of those items. I do want to concur with some of the thoughts that have been made, particularly by the Mayor. What I see here is, obviously, there is the opportunity to make cost savings, but there is also the opportunity to redeploy resources. And I think the ability for the city to become more nimble and responsive to emerging issues as they emerge is probably an area where I think we can focus more on. This move has also been seen by large corporations. I know one of the companies I used to work at also had a move towards a reduced annual report and actually redirecting those resources to instantaneous messaging whenever issues arose and actually being more proactive. So as I say, not wanting us to make a decision today, but these are some of the things that should be discussed. And as I say, I don't think it's going to be a large cost impediment on the administration. I know that point was made by Councillor May. It's not a full report I'm asking for. I'm simply just asking, as we go through the budget process, this is a line item that we discuss and we make a decision on. And you know, we do that as part of the process. The final point I would make, where I do potentially see cost savings being, is potentially around some of the design aspects. We do spend a lot of, we spend resources making it look as nice as possible. I'd be more focused on making sure that we have the right inclusions. But again, these are all discussions we can have through the budget process. So I encourage you to support this minor amendment, and we can make that decision in due course.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. If we could then vote on the amendment. If you cast your votes on the screens, please. Councillor Fishwick. Thank you. I declare the item closed and the motion is carried. We're reverting to the primary motion as amended twice now. If we could get that on the screen. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to the primary motion? Councillor Fishwick? No? You looked like you were leaning forward. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few questions, if I could, please, through you. Page 112 and 165, reference to the dog management plan. Are we able to provide a greater or a more accurate timeframe of where we anticipate the dog management plan coming back to council for consideration?
Thank you. Director Clarkson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The corporate business plan includes the milestones to bring the draft dog management plan back to council in Q3 of this financial year, and we're currently on target to achieve that.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. Page 162, where we refer to the website and the award recognition for it. Just wonder if the administration could comment how that fits in, or why then we have a result on page 25 where the website satisfaction dropped from 84 to 81.
Thank you. Director Parry, I think, for that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take that one on notice. I'll need to have a look at the improvement plans that we put in place with regard to the website and what was undertaken there. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Page 154, the vacancy rate of 10.5%, just seeking some greater guidance. Was that very consistent over the year? And if so, how did that relay through in the employment costs?
Director Parry.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I was talking to my colleague here. Could you please repeat the question, Councillor Raptis?
Yeah, sorry, the question was regarding the percentage employee vacancy rate, which is on 154 of the annual report. 10.5% referenced there. Just wondered how steady that was over the entire year, and then how that reflected through into the employment expenses incurred.
Thank you. Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, thank you very much for the question. I need to take that one on notice just to see how that fluctuated throughout the 12-month period, because I'm sure there was some fluctuations throughout that time.
Thank you. Councillor.
Thank you. Page 139, planning approvals within statutory timeframes at 74%. It indicates downward trend. Just wondered if we can have some comment on that, and what's the biggest barriers? What's causing those delays? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilcox, who's the Acting Director.
Thank you, and through the Mayor, I'll have to take that question on notice and I'll get that information back to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Page 95. In reference to the number of job applications received, it's quoted as 5,958 applications received, up over 1,000 from the previous year. Just wonder if there could be some, I suppose, some additional information provided around the number of jobs advertised this year versus last year to help us with that comparison.
Thank you. Director Parry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we'll be able to provide that additional information. It's probably contained within the annual report from last year, but I'll provide that information.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And last one is in page 51 of the financial report. With regard to the restatement of comparatives, where the figures for 30 June 24 were restated by decreasing work in progress in property, plant and equipment and increasing operating expenditure in materials and contracts. Just wondered if they could have some comment as to that treatment versus how we treated adjustments to WIP in the 25 annual financials, and why the difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Director Humphrey.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take the question on notice to provide further detail, but at a high level, this current financial year, there was a greater focus on making sure the work in progress account was effectively dealt with by the reporting period. The year ended 30th June 2024 was impacted significantly by two issues. One was the treatment of how we're going to deal with the costs associated with our ERP replacement, which we weren't 100% clear on. We are now. And there are other projects that were multi-year projects that have since been completed. But I will take the question on notice to provide elected members with a more detailed breakdown and a further response.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
All good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions on the item? Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question on page 35. I just wanted to make sure that data is accurate on the born overseas population. So the report states that 88% of residents who were born overseas were born in the UK and only 4% from South Africa. I just wanted to confirm that's correct. It seems like a very high number.
Director Parry.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we can just double check that information. The source is from our Profile ID software, so we'll just double check that information and provide a confirmation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor May. Any further questions? No? I have a question for page 104, which is around injury time, lost time from injuries. It has two numbers on the bottom, so the work health and safety incidents reported. It's down from 188 last year, down to 128. Do we have any understanding of why there's been a decrease in incidents reported? Is it a decrease in hazards, or what is it that's caused it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that one on notice and provide some further information as to the reasons behind the information that's presented.
Thank you. And then if we could do the same as well for the numbers linked to a hazard, that's gone up from 13 last year up to 48. So do we have any indication on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I'll provide further information on that one as well.
Thank you, Director. Are there any other questions? Councillor Chester.
A comment, if you will.
Sure.
Earlier I commended the annual report, and the reason being essentially there's no attempt to obscure city activities, and certainly not in terms of behaviour, if you like, of elected members. And I would encourage ratepayers to to read in detail all of the material relating to council attendance at city-related meetings, the remuneration we receive annually, and particularly our attendance at conferences. It's all open to be examined and assessed, and all of us should welcome that sort of clarity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Any further comments? No, in that case, I'll close as the mover. I think we've ventilated a lot of the issues or things we could do differently about the annual report, and I guess that'll come through the review process now. I would just like to say thank you to the administration for preparing the report. There's lots of elements that have to go into this each year. It's a large document across all the number of business units, so thank you for preparing it, and of course, especially the performance measures. There's been a lot of discussion this year about what should be in or out from the perspective of performance measures into the annual report, so thank you for the effort this year. In that case, we can then go to a vote on the item as amended. If you could cast your votes on the screens. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried unanimously. The next item is item 8.2, which is setting of the meeting date for the AGM. I'm willing to move the officer's recommendation. Could I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Mercer. I don't really wish to speak to this at length. Of course, the document talks about what dates are available, and there's a statutory timeframe which the AGM must be held in relation to. I think it's always important that the AGM is on a separate date to a council meeting or another meeting, otherwise it goes too late into the evening and either those meetings get adjourned or they have to be held if there's an external speaker quite late into the evening. So I think it's preferable it's on a separate day, and I think Thursday the 29th of January is an appropriate date. So, Councillor Mercer. Thank you. Any further commentary? Councillor Chester.
Yes, a question. I'm just wondering whether there's any legislative requirement to hold the AGM as early as we have done over a good number of years. There have been a lot of complaints from the community that because the majority work, it's difficult for them to attend easily. Is there any opportunity still to make the meeting a bit later and possibly more accessible to the community to attend? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Before I get to the question, just to clarify, you are referring to the time, not the time at 5:30, not the time of the year.
Oh, you're right. The time the meeting begins.
I will go to Director Parry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for the question. The start time and date is entirely at the council's discretion. I think we have recommended the start time of 5:30 simply based upon the historical selection of the council back to 2016.
Councillor Chester.
Yes, I'm just wondering whether any other elected members have found the same response from the community or whether city officers have indeed received commentary similar to what I've just expounded on.
Okay. Councillor Pizzey.
Yes, thanks through you. I just have a comment. I support a separate meeting, but I don't think that the date is very thoughtful of children. They're all on school holidays still, and families may be away. And I think it's better to do this when schools are back and all families are back in their routine and more available to come.
Thank you. Any further commentary on the date? Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, sorry. Could I just ask, from previous experience, obviously not being on council for that long, we're holding it on, it's a short week, effectively. The Monday of that week is a public holiday. Do we expect there to be any issues from a community perspective with that, given most people would take the opportunity of a short week to take all days off? Do we foresee any difficulty there, or are we comfortable with that?
Go to the Director Parry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, again, it's at the discretion of the council to select the date the annual general meeting of electors is convened on. This is a date that we thought might be appropriate given the dates that were around that particular time.
I think I'll add to that response as well is that there is the legislative requirement in section 5.27 that the AGM is held 56 days after the local government accepts the annual report. So if we accept the annual report today, on the 16th of December, there's a counter which starts then for 56 days from today's date. So that does actually limit on the date in which we can schedule the meeting. So we can schedule it earlier, but scheduling it late is actually difficult, depending on it. So, Councillor Pizzey.
If I just wanted to foreshadow an amendment of a different date in February if this does not get through by council.
Okay. What date?
We could do Thursday the 5th.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on the motion? Councillor May.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I'm quite ambivalent to the date. I think it is better having it on a separate day, but in terms of whether it's school holidays and people are going to be away, I think there's never going to be a time when everybody is going to be available to attend a given meeting. Some people might be working night shift work, or they might be unavailable for whatever reason. I think in terms of school holidays and people being away, I don't know how. I know a lot of people with young kids, and they generally, in this environment, they can't afford to go on extended holidays for a month or more at a time. So I don't know how big of an issue that would be. Yeah, like I said, I'm quite comfortable with the date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor May. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move an amendment to change the date to time to 6:30 p.m.
You.
I'd like to
Councillor
second that amendment.
Fishwick, seconding. Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I've taken the feedback from comments from Councillor Chester, and I think having a consistent starting time when it comes to meetings, council meetings start at 6:30. I think having the AGM start at 6:30 provides a level of consistency with that and gives people adequate time to attend from their workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fishwick.
I reserve my right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further commentary on the date change, sorry, the time change from 5:30 to 6:30? Councillor Hutton.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously happy to have my mind changed on this, but the one concern I would have about the later start time is actually therefore the resulting finish time. So it's all good in making it slightly later so people can arrive on time, but when the meetings are then, 2021 would have ran to 11:15 p.m, 2023 would have ran to 10:56 p.m, 2024 would have run to 9:54 p.m. So I suppose there's just a thought there to have is, yes, if you're moving it later and we're talking about young families and the like, I think if I had a young family and I was wanting to come to the AGM for whatever reason, it's starting at 5:30 and being finished at a reasonable time would probably suit better than it starting at 6:30 and running late into the evening. So yes, I understand it's not perfect for anyone, but I think 5:30, history shows that there's been a sort of steady increase in the turnout at that time. So yeah, I'm not set on moving it, but it's more about the accessibility for people actually to stay to the end of the meeting, particularly when you might move one motion and there could be dozens on the agenda, and you could be forced to stay very, very late into the night. So yeah, I have concern. I'm probably more comfortable with the 5:30 from a family accessibility perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor May.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. From the comments made by Deputy Mayor and Councillor Hutton, I think if the Deputy Mayor's open to it, amending it to 6 o'clock instead of 5:30 or 6:30.
With the concurrence of the mover and seconder, you just yes or no? No, they're not open to it. Councillor May.
Thank you. I'm quite comfortable with either time. I think 6:30 personally makes it easier for me, but it also aligns nicely with briefing and council meeting start times, so fine with that.
Thank you, Councillor May. Councillor Chester.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. There may be some validity to Councillor Lewis's issue of it ending later, but could we not trial it anyway to see whether in fact it improves attendance? And if it is finishing too late, we could always change it back. So I definitely would be supporting 6:30 as a start time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chester. Any further comments? Not Deputy Mayor, Councillor Fishwick.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just very briefly, some elected members are also employed, so they might find it difficult to arrive at 5:30 given peak hour traffic. And that also applies to our electors, because a lot of them would be engaged in employment, and therefore if they're driving from Fremantle or Victoria Park or somewhere far away, then they might find it difficult to attend at 5:30, where they might want to actually move a motion and they feel strongly about. So it does provide them with the opportunity to get here on time before the meeting starts. I think 6:30 is a reasonable time to commence. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Just one from myself. I've previously supported a 6:30 start, aligning them with the council and briefing sessions. I've made the argument previously that if members of the community wish to attend, if they are working, as most people do, at least have standard hours, 9 to 5, or if they start earlier, 8 to 4, 6:30 does make it more available for people. So in that case, Deputy Mayor, do you wish to close?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think, for those who finish at 5 in the city, take a good 45 minutes to get anywhere near City Joondalup. So I think 6:30 is reasonable. And also we'll keep in mind in terms of any lateness of it, this is the one event of the year, the opportunity for electors and ratepayers to actually have their say and put motions forward. So if it takes 4 or 5 hours for them to allow them to do that, then I'm prepared, and I think we should all be prepared to sit and listen and take on the concerns of the residents. So the lateness doesn't concern me when it comes to this particular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. If we could then vote on the item, please. Councillor Pizzey? I declare the voting closed and the item is carried. We revert then to the officer's recommendation as amended. Are there any other further comments on Councillor Hutton?
Yeah, thank you. Obviously now the motion's been amended. I just thought I'd take the opportunity to respond to some of the comments that were just made, because I think they probably take my comment out of context. I'm not of the opinion that the time is about the councillors' accessibility. I think as councillors we have to do what we can to adjust our schedules to be here. I was more talking about the public attendees. Again, yes, I agree, this is the opportunity at these meetings for members of the community to have their say. I think it is unfortunate over the past few years, from my observation, that some members of the community have taken upon themselves to submit as many motions as possible, which is sometimes not given the opportunity for other members of the community to have their say. So I think in doing this, we have to be conscious. Yes, it's good to be able to make it in time from work, but if you end up sitting till 10, 11:30 at night and then you're working the next morning and you have a family and kids and the like, you might not be able to stay long enough to have your motion put forward. So I think we must really keep that in mind. I personally am of the opinion that AGMs need to be, the way we do them needs to be reformed slightly. I don't think it's appropriate for individuals to be able to submit an unlimited number of motions. And to me, the priority needs to be giving all members of the community the opportunity to speak, and how we can better do that is obviously I'm open to. As I say, I voted for the amendment. I was happy on the arguments, but I just want to be, again, crystal clear. I wasn't talking about myself. I was talking about the fact that it's unreasonable for members of the community who submit motions to have to sit to the late hours of the night to have their say. whilst other members of the community may have spoken on many motions at many times. So for me, it's about accessibility for all members of the community, and that was my concern. But as I say, happy to trial the 6:30 start for now, and we'll see how it goes. But yes, happy to support this, but I do think there needs to be some form of reform around the process to maximise equality of opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. Councillor Hill.
Yes, thanks. A question, if I may, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just noting the procedures for annual general meeting of electors, I saw that the motions are to be submitted by 9 a.m. on the Monday before the meeting. And given that the Monday, if I'm not wrong, would be a public holiday, as mentioned earlier, it might be a bit odd requiring motions to be submitted by 9 o'clock on a public holiday. And I just would like to seek an answer as to whether that needs to be amended because of this date, or whether we should still run with that date or time deadline as stated in the current procedures. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to preface the question as well, is that the procedures for the meeting are determined by the presiding member under the city's local law, so we are quite flexible how we can work that. And I just make the observation in previous years the dates have been Tuesday when they've been held, and so this would then be on a Thursday, which would give, even if the motions were submitted on the Tuesday, 2 days for the governance team to work through them. So, Director Parry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, thank you for your response. That is the response that I would have provided as well. Following the resolution from tonight, we will work with you as the presiding member to determine the procedures for the electors' meeting.
And just to add on that, so previously the motions were required on Monday, which would have just left 24 hours. So being on the Thursday does add a little bit extra for the governance team. Any further questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question with regard to previous years where the motions have been submitted. Has there been a process to rationalise those so that all different individuals putting motions forward get theirs heard before duplicates or second and third motions from individuals are tabled to assist in the concern raised by Councillor Hutton?
Thank you. Again, the procedures are determined by the presiding member, and I would try and, in the same way that when we deal with public questions and statements, we do try to spread across the different issues across the city rather than having one issue monopolise a meeting. So, yes, I would be seeking to do that. So, Director Parry as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, you've provided the same response, and I concur with that response that you've provided to Councillor Raftis. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any further questions? Councillor Pizzey.
Comment, if I can.
You've already commented.
On the amended motion?
No, you commented on the substantive motion.
It's changed now with the
amendment? It
amendment?
doesn't matter, you've already spoken to the motion.
Okay.
Any further comments or questions? No. In that case, I'll close the debate. Yes, look, this particular date does still give 48 hours for the governance team, as we discussed earlier. Previously, the motion's been on the Monday for then the Tuesday meeting. In this case, the motions would then be in for the Tuesday for then the Thursday meeting. So it actually gives an additional day for the governance team to work through the motions and to provide the support to the meeting that's required. So those concerns can be dealt with. I think it's a good change to change the time from 5:30 to 6:30. And as far as the date itself, I think it's important to note is that the presumption under the legislation really is that the annual report is to be adopted before December 31 each year. And with most organisations, there's the presumption that the annual general meeting of electors in this case, but an annual general meeting for most corporations is to be held before December 31 of each year. So I think it's important that we do try and hold these meetings as soon as possible, and I think even preferably, if it could be done in the future, before the 31st of December. I know that does put a strain on the timeframes, but I think ideally you'd want to have these matters all resolved before the end of the calendar year, because otherwise you're dealing with, as is what has happened in previous years when our financial reports were delayed, not because of the city's activities, but from the regional councils and their audits, those financial reports then caused us adopting the annual report into the next calendar year. And then we had, in some cases, the AGMs up in March. So I think we should try and go back to how it was back in 2015, 2016, and try and have the AGMs as soon as possible. So that would take us, ideally in the future, back to December. So I'd encourage earlier dates so that we can process and move on. The other thing is, if the date's too late in the year, it does start to conflict with all the other considerations the council will be having, which is everything from the selection of the CEO and the CEO processes, the appointment of the new director of planning, the selections processes that will be occurring for some of the vacant positions. In addition to that as well, there'll be the budget processes too, which will be commencing around that time, ward meetings. And so the year after Australia Day does get very busy. So earlier is often better. So in that case, I'll close. If we could then vote on the screens, please. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried. The next item is item 8.3 on the agenda. So we have a motion to close the meeting to members of the public. So everyone in the gallery, thank you for attending. So I'm willing to move. Could I have a seconder? Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Thank you. I don't wish to speak to the item. It's just to say we're closing the meeting to the public. Deputy Mayor? No. Any further commentary on the motion? No. In that case, can we put the motion to a vote, please? If you could vote on the screens, if that's all right. Thank you. Oh, Councillor Chester, you haven't voted on the screen. Thank you. I declare the voting closed and the item is carried unanimously. Moving then to item 8.3. I'm willing to move. Oh, sorry. Are we determined that the council determined that the report be referred back to the Chief Executive Officer, selection panel to undertake an interview with the preferred applicant 3. In that case, that concludes all the item on tonight's meeting agenda for today's special meeting. So I hereby close the meeting at 7:46 p.m. Good evening, and thank you everyone for attending.